To the surprise of many, Toei Animation dropped the first 33-second teaser trailer for the 20th Dragon Ball theatrical motion picture, the Dragon Ball Super movie coming out in December, and the internet went ballistic. We got our first look at the Shintani design for Goku. We got our first look at who may end up being the possible villain of the film, and just an early preview of the film. But I want to talk about some of the behind-the-scenes information that we've gathered so far about this film, specifically why this movie may end up being, regardless of story or plot, it may end up being the best-looking Dragon Ball movie of all time, and it may actually end up being one that is going to be remembered as changing the game. So let's talk about the behind-the-scenes, the production aspect of the Dragon Ball Super movie. Plus, I want to give you guys a little bit of clarity on some of the misconceptions that have been going around, about the movie and what's been going on behind the scenes at Toei. So joining me, of course, who else can I have on this channel, with the exception of actually getting Sheeta himself, which is easier said than done. Please welcome the leader of the Sakuga Boru fandom. I don't even know if I'm even saying it right. Anime AJ.
Hello. That was quite an intro.
Was that a good intro?
I mean, that was pretty good. I'll take it.
I've done better.
It's fine. You've done so many intros now, and my ego is inflated to the size of the fucking universe. I think we're good now.
Well, when it gets as big as the multiverse, then we can talk. So let's talk about the movie, dude. So you were incredibly excited, and so was I, when we got some interesting information about the film just a few weeks ago. The trailer came out, and it was something totally unexpected. People were saying that, this looks different than what we've seen before with Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and Super. And really the main reason behind this is that Mr. Tadayoshi Yamamuro is no longer the animation supervisor for this movie. We don't know about the future of Dragon Ball TV shows and movies and whatnot, but for this movie, he is not doing it. And some folks at first were kind of like, it looks a little bit different. But when the trailer came out, there was a great response, and it's a different looking film. And it's also one of those things where, I was surprised at how much love it got, and people were saying, oh, it's a new Dragon Ball design, when I disagree. I think that this kind of new look for Goku and for the movie is much more vintage. It feels like the manga is coming to life. It's very different, and it seems to be a lot more refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. When I first saw those designs, I was blown away. That's the look that I've been campaigning for so long. People think I harp on Yamamuro's downfall way too much, and maybe I do, but I think the reason I do it is because I think a lot of people, they don't understand exactly why they dislike, or rather who's responsible for the look that Dragon Ball has become over the past sort of 20 years. I mean, people look at the Buu arc and they're like, this looks amazing, and then they look at Battle of Gods, or they look at episode of Bardock and Resurrection F and Super, and they're like, this is really shiny, and the characters are kind of rounder and stiffer, and it's not what people were used to. It doesn't really reflect what Toriyama's designs look like these days. It doesn't really look like Dragon Ball how it used to. There's a disconnect there, and whether people realized it or not, those designs came from one person, and that person is now no longer a part of this film. And the new person is Naohiro Shintani, who's just a crazy young, very, very talented animator from Toei. They were doing TV animation for a very short time before they just zoomed up the ladder and started doing nothing but theatrical works. They're incredibly talented. The fact that we have him on Super is unbelievable, and this new design, as you said, is so Toriyama centric. It really is like the manga come to life. It definitely feels new, but like you said, it also feels vintage. Like I was saying before we started recording, it feels so much like the Namek era designs brought into 2018, and it's so animation friendly. It's a really versatile design. So,
I mean, I've always been, we talked about this, you and I off air, I've always been a Maeda guy. I love Maeda so much. I love that 20-second Budokai Dragon Ball into the Saiyan arc, the Saiyan saga. I love that look, with Goku kind of being, younger. I really enjoy that look, and he's gone, unfortunately. Not dead, but he doesn't work on Dragon Ball anymore. Shintani might be the closest one. Now, you were mentioning that Shintani is a tippy-top dog. I think people, as we've done these videos, you and I, they've gotten to know Tate, Sheeta, Takahashi. Now we're talking about Shintani here, and Shintani's kind of like Takahashi, bro. He's like a newer guy who, like you said, rose to the top, but he's a movie animator. So what are the chances that Shintani will come back and do a Dragon Ball TV series in the future? Is that even remotely possible, or is it one of those things where it's just going to be for this movie because they want to make this movie very, very special?
Yeah, that's the thing I don't know. So, like you said, it could just be that because this is the 20th, Dragon Ball film, and it's all dealing with this very sort of classic story about the Saiyans and all this kind of stuff. Maybe they're going for a classic look intentionally. But then we also had something from Sheeta on Twitter the other day, and he said something like, This is the.
Please elaborate on that, because people are worried that he's not going to be involved in the movie, and Takahashi. That may not be the case. They might be there. Yeah.
So Sheeta said, first of all, that this is the one and only chance to redesign Dragon Ball, and I don't know if he means just this is a one-off for the film, or whether this is like the big one. The big new starting point for a brand new aesthetic for Dragon Ball that's going to define Dragon Ball from here on out. I don't know if he means that, or like you said, it's just for the film. As for his participation, he has 100% confirmed he will be on the film. So anyone worried that because these new designs aren't super angular and detailed like Sheeta, you have nothing to worry about. What's so good about these designs is that they're versatile. They're a blank canvas for animators to inject their style onto. With the ones that we had, they were very sort of stiff, and you could only really animate them in one way. If you wanted to go in a different direction, you had to kind of break the model sheets. Like when you look at Naoki Tate, yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people aren't like massive fans when he comes to animate because it just looks so different, and that's because the designs that we have are so limited. You can't do much with them. Whereas these ones, you can animate in that loose, very sort of grounded, realistic style like we saw in that teaser, or you can make them super angular and detailed like what Takahashi and what Sheeta does. A lot of people have compared this to like Pokemon Sun and Moon or One Piece, which do have fairly simple designs. And they have super detailed animation all the time, and that's the great thing. Like just because the base happens to be simplified, it doesn't mean that you can't have someone like Takahashi or Sheeta involved. So I think people worried there shouldn't be. I think this is really a good thing because it just means that the action is going to be even better, and it's going to feel more consistent because you can, like I said, it's versatile. You can go either way without really breaking immersion.
Yeah, so episode 130 may not be the peak of, and 131, the peak of animation. They could surpass it. And it was interesting because I was looking at some tweets, recently from Sheeta, and he didn't confirm 100% he doesn't work on the movie, but I find it hard to believe he won't. And also, I found it interesting how
he actually did. I didn't realize this. This was pointed out to me by Terras earlier. He actually did say 100% he will be on it. All I'd seen was that, we're trying to make the schedule happen. We're trying to get me on it. Yeah, same. But no, she dug up a tweet that I somehow missed that he said, yes, I am going to be on the film 100%. So I guess that schedule arrangement happened, and yeah, he will be on the film. So that's great news.
You're going to get yelled at, bro, because her name is Therese, bro. Terras.
What did I say, Terras? She yelled at me about this recently.
I know that. I know.
Fuck.
Yeah. All right. Don't worry.
Sorry.
I'm not editing this out. Right. So we know that Toriyama's involved, and for those who don't know how it works, Toriyama designs the initial character designs, and then somebody like a Yamamura, or in this case, Naohiro Shintani, they take the original design that Toriyama creates and sort of creates the anime version, I guess is the way to describe it, where he gives it to the animator, says, okay, this is the animation sheet of how they're supposed to look. What's the actual name of those things? The where you see that the heads in different like camera angles?
Well, the Japanese word is sete, but it's, character design, character sheet, whatever you want to call it.
The character sheet. Yeah, so if you've ever seen like a picture of Caulifla and like it's her front, her back, the back of her head, on one piece of paper, that's given to the animators so they know how to kind of put everything together. And with Shintani, it's just going to be, he's still going to take Toriyama's designs. Still going to do that, but like you said, it'll be more vibrant. Now, Toriyama's writing the script, the original author, script, character design. With Resurrection F, we know that his script was very basic and that Yamamuro had to go in and kind of fill in the blanks because there is no original manga. Same thing with this film. Toriyama's not designing a manga, so the fight scenes have to be all kind of custom made. So that's going to come down to the director, Tatsuya Nagamine. What can you tell us about Tatsuya Nagamine?
So Nagamine is, well, we already know who he is because he is the series director of Dragon Ball Super for this universe survival arc. And I think something a lot of people noticed when episode 77 rolled around was that there was a massive aesthetic change to the show. Like there was new lighting, new atmosphere, new line filters. Everything has very drastically changed the visuals when he came about. So in that sense, we already kind of know who he is, but for a little bit of history, he is one of Toei's best directors. Fans of One Piece
Film Z.
Exactly, that film is just one of the best One Piece films next to One Piece Movie 6, which was obviously from the legendary Mamoru Hosoda. So he's very, very talented. He is probably the reason that we have now Hiro Shintani involved. Shintani was the second highest credited key animator on One Piece Film Z, and
so that's his boy.
Yeah, and also the art director that we have. The name escapes me.
The art director is Kazuo Ogura.
Yeah, so he was also the art director on One Piece Film Z. So it kind of feels like Nagamine just went, let me do my own thing. I'm just gonna. This is our character guy. This is our art guy. Let's just go. And I think that's a great thing because I think a lot of people, when they think about animation quality in films or TV series, whatever, they think a lot about budget and what people can afford. But really, what's so important is who you know, who the director knows, and what's attractive about the project for animators. This is something that One Punch Man's director had spoken about. Like the reason that show looks so good is because people were attracted to the project. They were attracted to him because he's obviously so talented. And I think that's something we're going to see because of Nagamine and because of Shintani's very appealing designs. We've already seen very talented animators on Twitter very heavily compliment Shintani's design. So it's really good to see, and it's a very stark contrast compared to what we saw with Yamamuro's designs, where he was really getting quite heavily criticized by animators for his work. So I think as far as the benefits of Nagamine, aside from his talent, he's very good at drama, he's very good at comedy, that kind of thing. The next best thing is that he's incredibly appealing to work with. So we should probably expect some pretty great names on the film.
Is it fair to say that if you watch One Piece Film Z, the animation will be at least similar in quality?
I would hope so, yeah. I mean, One Piece Film Z is one of those films where the second you hit play and that opening fight scene starts, you're just kind of blown away and sucked in, and it doesn't let you go until the end. It's really, really impressive. So,
and I will say this, even though story is important, presentation is very, very important too, because sometimes you can mask a weak story with good presentation. Now, if the story is horrible, that's different. But if it's a simple story, Goku versus some new enemy, it'll be fine, I think.
Absolutely. I think something that a lot of people don't take into account, just because of how Western animation works, where the kind of the script and the performances dictate the animation, just because of the way that the order they do things, they record first and they animate. In Japan, they animate first. The animation is what kind of leads the film, and everything kind of follows that. So, if the animation isn't good, it's kind of hard to pick up the pieces because everything comes after that. So, yeah, if the animation is good, then, everyone has a lot more to work with.
Yeah, and like I was saying, with my episode 130 coverage, there were problems in that episode story-wise, but you can't deny the fight scene was awesome. Like, even if you hated what they did with Goku, Jiren, and like his power and all that, which I criticized too, the fight scene looked great. And I think if you go into a movie and you have a great climax, a lot of times we as people are forgiving of the story. Now, I'm not saying that the movie is going to be great and it's going to be the best written thing ever, because it's still a Toriyama project. What I'm hoping for is that Nagamine can take his script and really flesh it out, right? And you know, like really make it something special, you know, because Yamamuro with Resurrection F didn't do that. I mean, the movie has, you know, more realistic looking fight scenes and all that, because he talked about that, but the story was just really basic. And I don't know if these guys are under certain parameters. Like, I don't know if maybe Toei tells them, listen, you have to stick to Toriyama's script. But I feel like if Toriyama's script is too simple, that Nagamine could go in there and maybe add some scenes and things to kind of flesh out the story, sort of like what they've been doing in Super, but make it so that it's quality and that it fits with the original script.
Oh, definitely. Like, the one thing that I think is so exciting for me is that we know, because we've obviously seen Toriyama's script for Resurrection F, when it comes to action scenes, he just kind of writes, and a big action scene happens here, and it's really cool. Go do your best,
Goku
animators.
And Frieza fight.
Yeah, exactly. And so it comes down to the skill of the director and the storyboard artist, one and the same in this case, to actually come up with the action. And I think Nagamine is really the perfect person for that job. He's incredibly talented. If you're a fan of Super and you really liked episode 95, which was Goku versus Frieza, which I think is a fan favorite, that was directed by Tatsuya Nagamine. So there's your little preview, I guess, of what you may see, obviously on a much larger scale and with
Sheeta was
way
on that
more
one.
creative freedom. Yeah, exactly.
No, way more. Now, let's talk about Yapiko. So, Dragon Ball Super 2018, right now, no other name, they're outsourcing, I guess you can say, Yapiko Animation. Why is this a big deal? Tell the people. I talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but we haven't discussed it on the channel yet. Why is them outsourcing to Yapiko, not Toei Films? Even I'm sure they're going to have some other companies helping them out, but why is Yapiko such an important aspect of how this film's going to look aesthetically?
Well, Yapiko are like quite a prominent studio. They're a French/Japanese studio, and I think people will probably know them because of LeSean Thomas, you know, responsible for like the Boondocks, and he worked on stuff like Legend of Korra and that kind of stuff. People always love the animation in that.
Yeah, he did the Garo Divine Flame movie, Yapiko did, and that movie looks great.
Yeah, and it's also has associations with really talented animators like Thomas Romain, Thomas in Tokyo. You'll probably know him on Twitter as. These are really talented animators, so it's not like I think when people hear the word outsourcing, they go, "Oh, that's scary. We don't like outsourcing." But actually, in this case, that's probably quite a good thing. And to clarify, that's not that the entire film is going to be outsourced. It's just that some animators will be from this certain studio. And what's really exciting is that they're actually quite vocal, some of the animators associated with that. And already on Twitter, we've heard that, for example, one guy has already animated Goku and Vegeta. So we know that Vegeta is definitely in the film, which is great. We know that the film is in the key animation stage already at this point in, what are we, in March? That's really exciting. That's you know, really ahead of what a movie schedule normally is.
The script is done. The story's already been laid out. Now we're actually animating.
That's amazing. That means there's going to be stacks upon stacks of time to really ensure that the animators can come up with the best action scenes possible, the best character acting. It should hopefully be the best looking Dragon Ball film by a mile. They've obviously been planning this for a long time. They said on that stream that the character design has been in the works for like a year. The fact that we're now animating at this point, like, this is a very well planned movie. They're definitely taking this seriously when they say that they want this to be the best looking one possible.
Now, that begs the obvious question, which I don't know if we have an answer to yet, because I've asked, and I'm pretty sure you've asked too, our sources. No. All right. So they planned this movie a year ago when the arc Tournament of Power had just begun. The obvious question here is, okay, these guys at Toei obviously have plans, they have ideas, and you know they pre-plan a lot of things. How early do you believe that the staff was aware that Super was going to be ending in March? Some have said September, some have said December. I don't know. I feel like if they're working on this movie for a year ago, this has changed my opinion on this.
Yeah, so I feel like they probably knew quite some time ago. Maybe not every single person on the staff, but yeah, it does definitely feel like they knew to an extent when this was going to end. I don't know, because obviously we had the Blu-ray releases that kind of like changed at the last minute because of the breaks. I don't know whether that was genuinely just a listing error or whether they really had to like cut some stuff down. But at the very least, they definitely knew this was ending quite a while ago. I don't think you could start to plan a movie that far in advance, well aware of Super's issues. Like, I don't know how many people really understand that there is absolutely no way ever that they could produce a film with Super being in the state that it was, production-wise, schedule-wise. That was just impossible. So I feel like the plan has really just been, you know, finish Super, make this fantastic film, and then come back with a new TV series, maybe next year, hopefully next year, and, you know, give it good pre-production and really relaunch the series with the production value that it absolutely deserves, both in terms of animation and planning and scripting and everything, really.
And that's what I was going to actually make a point to, is that I think people always compare it to Dragon Ball Z, because when Dragon Ball Z was on the air and Dragon Ball Z had 2 theatrical movies a year. So people are like, well, why couldn't they just... It's not the same now that it was in the 90s at all. Like, the staff at Toei has changed, and I feel like they knew they would have to make this Kitaro 50th anniversary anime. So I feel like when that came in, they were like, okay, we can't stop doing One Piece because One Piece is consistently having a manga come out. Super doesn't have a manga. Like, it does, but the manga's behind like crazy. So the idea is, if they were to animate Super, One Piece, and Kintaro, I feel like the production would really fall apart. And I could be wrong on this, and I'm not even including like Precure in them, other shows. So I feel like it was smart of them to just say, you know what, let's focus on the movie and then like sort of focus on the series maybe later if they're going to come back, versus having 3 big animes airing, you know, with similar animators maybe, and having it just kind of fall apart. Because then you'd have like a bunch of episode 5s maybe.
Yeah, 100%. Like the reason that the start of Super fell apart was because there was just so much going on and they didn't give it enough time. Like even the series director for Super's first arc was working on so much stuff outside of just Super in the build-up to that coming out. So yeah, I think they just don't ever want to repeat that, and they don't want to carry on with Super, which is just so barely keeping its head afloat. Like, as good as the animation improvements have been in this arc, the fact that we've had to reuse so much animation and there are just so many shortcuts, and it feels like the animation is always kind of bowing to the story. Like the story isn't being structured in a way that benefits the production, and it just kind of feels like everything's kind of out of sync with each other. So definitely starting again, I guess from scratch and really doing it right this time is the plan, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah, we'll see. Everybody check out Anime AJ. Thank you for being here. And anything else you want to throw at the folks before we close out? Anything? Obviously, we're not Dragon Ball hype men, even though there are folks that we talk to who are, and we know we've probably hyped stuff up before, but it seems like this movie is looking pretty good so far. Like, it seems like, at least aesthetically, it's going to be better than the TV show.
Oh yeah. Like I guess if you don't follow the industry that closely, maybe you don't really get why this is so exciting, but the history of Tatsuya Nagamine, the history of Naohiro Shintani, how appealing those designs are, and all of the talented animators that are now hyping this film, it's such a different experience from Battle of Gods, from Resurrection F, from Super. Seriously, the atmosphere within the animation community is so different, and I'm talking about professionals here, not just animation fans. This is a really, really exciting time for Dragon Ball. I really hope they deliver. I think they will. I don't think Toei are exaggerating when they say this is going to be the best looking Dragon Ball film yet. Genuinely.
Yeah. No, it's going to be crazy. And one thing I will say is, if it does get a worldwide release, which we don't really know for sure yet, right? Like, from it's up for debate right now. Yeah. If it does get one, go see this in theaters, dude, because I feel like it's gonna really kick when you see it on the big screen.
God, absolutely. I mean, just that teaser alone was so animated and so lively. Just to see that for however long this film is on a massive screen, that would just be such an experience.
All right, we'll catch y'all down the road.